I'm Detective Jeffrey Holtz of the Bridgeport Police Department's Homicide Unit. I'm here on Seaview Avenue, near Connecticut Avenue and Stratford Avenue. This is really the gateway to the city's East End. Right now, it's also part of Bridgeport's revitalization effort. 31 years ago, this area looked a lot different, and at that time, it was part of one of the most brutal murders in the history of the city of Bridgeport. In this edition of Park City Confidential, we take you back to the summer, 1994, August, and the murder of Benjamin Rosario.
UB 120, 10 for 10 Trumbull Ave, crime scene van.
21, I have 24. We're en route to the trespass.
All right, 10 for 21, 24, going to Dunkin' Donuts to the trespasser. Copy on 39, 35 Orange Street, crossing Newfield and Central. Caller Elijah stated there was 5 male parties outside the house, refusing to leave.
At approximately 5:30 p.m. on August 3, 1994, Bridgeport Police Patrol units were dispatched to Seaview Avenue near Stratford Avenue. Callers were reporting a trash bag in the middle of the road with a human foot and a human leg sticking out of the bag. A crime scene was established, and detectives located 2 more trash bags, each containing human remains, just north of where the first bag was found. On August 4, 1994, the day after the first bags were found, Bridgeport detectives returned to the same area to look for additional evidence and additional crime scenes. They located a 4th trash bag containing human remains in the area of land between Connecticut Avenue and Stratford Avenue. Although still there now, the landscape looks a lot different. On August 5, 1994, an off-duty Bridgeport police officer fishing on Pleasure Beach noticed 4 suspicious dark trash bags near the shoreline at the body of water called Lewis Gut, close to the radio transmission towers that are still visible today. The bags gave off a recognizable bad smell. Each bag was found to contain more human remains. The victim was subsequently identified through fingerprints and clothing in the bags as 45-year-old Benjamin Rosario of Union Avenue in the East End. Rosario's home was only several blocks from where his first remains were found. According to Benjamin Rosario's family, he was last seen in front of his home at around 10 o'clock p.m. on August 1, 1994. That night, Rosario eventually made his way to the Side Effects Cafe at the corner of Connecticut Avenue and 5th Street. Witnesses told police Benjamin Rosario had a couple of drinks and left close to 11 o'clock with a man they described as possibly Hispanic and in his mid-30s. Benjamin Rosario was never seen alive again. Retired Bridgeport detective Ernie Nandori looked into the Rosario case when he was promoted. As a rookie patrol officer in 1994, Ernie Nandori was one of the then Red Sector patrol units dispatched to Seaview Avenue when the first bag was called in. Nandori remembers famed forensic scientist Dr. Henry Lee arriving at the first crime scene on Seaview Avenue. Dr. Lee was a commissioner of public safety for the Connecticut State Police at that time. Nandori was also the officer that took the missing person report from Benjamin Rosario's family.
Unfortunately, with this one, I don't think we got much related to tattoos or any identifying marks other than his pants. And on the pants, through my recollection, that he had something spray painted or whatever they would call that, etching or on his pants that would really stand out in a crowd where you'd be able to identify him. We got a call to a garbage bag that was dumped on the side of the road near Seaview and Stratford. And upon arriving to that scene, which was pretty gruesome, to say the least, is you see a foot and a lot of flies. I recall Dr. Lee, the medical examiner, also showed up, and Rich Hurley, Captain Boston. So we were pretty much gathering a crowd of experts to take a look at this bag. Unfortunately, the crowds were also being curious, stopping above on 95, and so we were trying to stay as discreet as possible. Unfortunately, Dr. Lee was very into what was in the bag and removed a foot with the knee and the thigh attached to it, and laid it down on the ground. Subsequently, they were starting to remove some of the clothing, and I observed the jeans, and I went over to, and I believe it was Don Jocks, and I told him about my missing person from the day before or a couple of days before, and that there was a specific, spray painted word that was on the leg. So when they pulled out the clothing, it matched our missing person. So at that point, we're putting one and one together. And unfortunately, at that time, you can't say that it was, Mr. Rosario, but we had good intention of believing that it was. There was a lot of scuttlebutt about how or why it happened. But I believe that the detectives at that time were really working hard to try to put this together. It was surprising that the bags were strewn about the city. What wasn't surprising is that when we were at the first crime scene, there wasn't much content to the bag other than his leg and some skin and so on and so forth, which was also leading us to believe that he was dismembered at that time. A few years later, after I became a detective, it was always a passion of trying to find and locate and close this case after so many years. Being a rookie, you never think that you'll stumble upon one of several dismembered cases on the East Coast, let alone having it as a conversation piece with other members, and bringing something like this in conversation up. It stays with you because of the seriousness and seeing something this horrific for a first time, but it also stays with you because the family and the people that were directly involved in this never really got an answer.
Despite rumors and theories, detectives determined the murder of Benjamin Rosario was not connected to serial killer Richard Rogers, the last call killer, who left his gay male victims dismembered in trash bags along highways throughout the Northeast in the middle 1990s. The state of Connecticut eventually offered a reward of $20,000 to anyone who can provide a tip leading to the arrest of the person or persons responsible for the murder of Benjamin Rosario. That reward is still in place. Dan Tepfer, a veteran crime reporter for the Bridgeport Post, the Connecticut Post, and now the Connecticut Examiner, covered the Rosario murder from the start. He still vividly remembers the earliest details of the investigation.
I was out there at every scene, with every discovery. I went to that scene, including Pleasure Beach. There were a lot of people around, obviously. Soon after, it went out that this garbage bag, and they were all same kind of make of garbage bag. It's clear they came from the same roll, and so people were like, "Oh my God, there's another garbage bag." And sometimes it was just an innocent garbage bag, but it became a concern by people that, oh my God, another body part in my neighborhood. Another, this is what's going on here, because it just seemed that they were all over the East Side, showing up everywhere, and nobody knew how they got there, how they, who put them, and at that point, who the victim was. But still, there was this whole thing: who's the victim? Who's the killer? I mean, it was a huge mystery. We had meetings about it every single day because, I mean, there was a concern about, you know, we don't want to print things that are too gory, but at the same time, this is obviously a rather sensational situation. I mean, as I said, garbage bags with human body parts being found all over the east side of the city. People were up in arms. People were concerned. They were panicking. There was it was a troubling time in the city of Bridgeport. Well, your first thought is serial killer. But it became pretty clear that it was just one victim who, with parts that were just being scattered all over the east side of the city. Um, and I think that was a maybe certain ease to people that at least they knew that more than one person wasn't being killed. Um, but still, there was this whole thing: who's the victim? Who's the killer? I mean, it was a huge mystery. Benjamin Rosario. Well, as soon as we got the name of the victim, I went over to his house to interview his family. He was a pretty harmless kind of guy, Benjamin Rosario. He'd get up in the morning, get dressed, whatever, and then head out to the Side Effects bar on Connecticut Avenue, where he'd meet up with some friends, convince people to buy him some drinks. He'd leave kind of tipsy and come home and sit on his front porch singing Spanish love songs. I mean, harmless, but good natured. Nobody had any problems with him. So that became an even greater surprise, that why would somebody kill this guy? Absolutely. The Associated Press was involved, TV. Um, I at that point I pretty much had control of the situation media wise, but yeah, there was a lot of interest in Connecticut and outside Connecticut. New York media was here. New York Post, Daily News. Yeah, I'd ran into a lot of these guys. I get a lot of calls from these guys. I still remember it very vividly. So that gives you an indication of all the cases, the hundreds and hundreds of cases that I've covered. I still remember that one very well.
To profile the killer, Bridgeport detectives eventually sought assistance on the Rosario case from the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit in Quantico, Virginia. That unit was the inspiration for the hit television series Criminal Minds. Special Agent Greg McCrary handled the case for the FBI in 1994. Agent McCrary, now retired and working as a consultant and author, provided an updated profile of Benjamin Rosario's killer for Park City Confidential.
I mean, to me, the biggest thing, we got a very tight time frame with a case and a very tight geography. And those are the two big things I think that jump out. I mean, where the body pieces are, it's almost in a straight line from the bar to the house, down to I-95 overpass, and then right out to the park. To me, this is a guy right there in that neighborhood. He probably lives alone, or at least he has a place under his control where he can do this. It's a bloody awful mess, right? He's cutting up this body, and he's not doing it really smartly. There's some bloody awful crime scene someplace. He's bloody as hell that after that the event. He chops it up and gets rid of it because he can't leave it there, wherever it is. That's his home. It's going to be linked to him, wherever the murder site is. It takes energy. It's not an easy thing to do. It takes a bit of more psychopathology to get in there and start cutting up bodies. So this goes to the kind of psychopathology of the guy. He's not deterred by any of that, right? That's not a problem for him. He's all in, with this thing. It's probably somebody that Rosario knew from the neighborhood or the bar or whatever. I don't think nobody flew in from Louisville to do this thing. The offender's right there in the neighborhood. He's from there. It was a personal issue. This isn't a serial killer. Otherwise, we'd have more bodies and things going on. So it was something personal between the victim and the offender that took place. It took place that evening. The offender probably isn't likely to hurt anybody else in the neighborhood. May have left the neighborhood at this time due to the intense interest in the case.
338, response to 885 Boston Avenue, crossing the 7th Street and Pembroke Street for a larceny from a motor vehicle. Just occurred. A complainant in a white Volkswagen Jetta window was broken and a purse was stolen. 1703-1720, CFS 35281. Blue 15, copy on a 1039. Plan is reporting an unknown party sitting on her front porch. Upon her arrival, responsible desk started shaking on her doorknobs, then went to the back of the house, shaking on those doorknobs. Responsible Hispanic male, last seen wearing a red hat, red sweater, red and black sneakers, carrying a book bag, currently sitting on the back porch of the house. Blue 12, I'm going to have to cross you over to 382 High Ridge Drive to 94 Amber 26.